everybody, it's Dana Brigman. It is Friday evening, and the other day I was asked by someone in the dog forum that I host about doing a discussion on oils for dogs that are nervous and anxious. And I've been thinking about that for a few days, trying to make sure that I'm covering the things that I really wanted to cover about this, because for me I think it's more than just the oils. I think certainly there are some benefits to using essential oils, and I'll come to the oils that I think you can choose from for that. But I think when we talk about a dog that has sort of this nervousness to their behavior, that we need to be looking at what are some of the triggers, what are some of the things that set them off. And in tandem with oils, we need to be taking some steps to address the behavior and do things that are confidence building. And that might be a little bit of tough love. So if you have a dog that fits into this category of nervousness, I'd like for you to comment below as to where you think that originates, or where you see it show up in the dog's activities. It might be just with strangers. It might be when you take them to new environments. It might be based on sounds or new things that have been added into the house. So for example, I know, you bring a balloon into the house and some dogs are sort of wigged out by that. So I'd like to get a little bit more detail, because based on what it is that causes these symptoms to show up, there are protocols and training guidance that I think you can implement. And I'll give you more information about that. But if we are just looking at what oils to use to address this, I really think we are starting with trying to provide something that will take the edge off of the anxiety a little bit, something that might boost confidence or help overcome insecurity. So the first two oils that came to my mind were Valor. Valor 1, as it's now known, has been out of stock for a little while with Young Living because of the blue tansy crop. But they have created Valor 2 that basically is excluding that blue tansy but has everything else. So that's really where I would start if I'm trying to address a dog that is facing some confidence type issues. In that same vein, if you don't have the blend or access to the blend, there are some single oils that you can use to begin your journey into trying to unravel this thing. So I'll talk a little bit about some of those that will help with a variety of different purposes. And so as you are making assessments about the specific dog that you are trying to address, their nervous behavior, their nervous energy, the things that stress them out a little bit, you really are just going to have to pick the oil that sort of resonates with the message, what that oil is intended to do, and then the dog that's before you, because each of them will present somewhat differently, right? Each of them will have sort of their unique aspects to this, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. And then I'll add some additional blends that I think would be helpful to you as well, that I use in my training practice. So if we are looking at single oils that are not blended with others, lavender is certainly a place to start if you have nothing else. And lavender is the oil that I hear people say, oh, I have that. I want to make sure you have a good, high quality lavender. So the quality of the oil matters. If you are buying it at the local mega retailer or drugstore and it is it has some expanders in it or some solvents or alcohols in it that actually allow it to have more product, it is less than pure and you will get less than stellar results. So I have seen a big variance in the quality of oils, and that's really what led me to stick with Young Living. But when we talk about an absolute pure oil, lavender is a good place to start, though it is the tip of the iceberg. But if you have nothing else available to you today, start there and then start to add to your collection. So, and I never know that I pronounced this one exactly right, but Lang Lang, Y-L-A-N-G, Y-L-A-N-G, Lang Lang, is an oil that is also targeted to confidence building and helping the dog really start to feel a little more stable in their environment and in their surroundings. Orange, which is one of the citrus oils, can promote happiness, can promote energy, can promote joy. And so you'll hear people talk for themselves when we are feeling those winter blues and we need a dose of sunshine. Orange or one of the other citrus oils is a place to start diffusing that into the environment to help raise our spirits. So it has the same benefit for our dogs. Today we talked about the frankincense oil as a highly supportive emotional oil. It will have the same benefit for your dog. So take a look at frankincense as an option if you happen to have that one. If you have the starter kit from Young Living, you would have access to lavender and frankincense both, and you could start using them in tandem with each other. Another oil that is targeted at helping to create a sense of relaxation and a sense of grounding is vetiver. This is often used with children who are amped up, unable to focus, unable to keep, sort of a steady concentration. Vetiver helps kind of create a sense of calm and relaxation and can bring us back to sort of that grounding state of mind. It has the same benefit for our dogs. Bergamot will target balance and also confidence. So in as much as Lang Lang talks about confidence, so does bergamot. It talks about balancing our emotional state. Cedarwood is another for dogs that might be experiencing almost panic, almost sort of this just loss of control of panic, and the stress is so severe. Cedarwood is one that might help stabilize that. Cedarwood paired with lavender, is a combination that I use in my diffuser at bedtime for relaxation purposes, for helping to promote calm sleep, sort of that deeper, restful sleep. And it works for me. And so in the same way that it works for us, cedarwood, maybe even cedarwood paired with lavender, can help address the state of mind and the state of stress that our dogs might be under. Cypress, and this is not blue cypress, but just the oil cypress, is another one targeted at creating grounding, sort of creating that stabilization and that sense of everything is okay. Everything is in balance, so to speak. Melissa is another oil that you could look at also for emotional balance. So that's a list of what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ones to choose from, right? And so again, it's not about choosing them all. When I first started looking at my reference guides and starting to understand this, I would see a list of these oils and think, good Lord, I can't afford all of those oils, or I don't have access to all of them. The idea is start with what you do have, and as you can add to your collection, or you figure out what the dog is responding to, and you really start to understand more specifically what it is that we're trying to get to, right? What is it that is affecting them, then you can get a little more prescriptive in the oil selection that you're choosing. So when I think about a dog that has confidence or insecurity or expresses what you guys may be calling nervousness, I want to look and see if I can find a root for it. Is it based in trauma of some sort? Meaning, was there a really bad experience that when we go to an environment that is similar to that, they are having a reaction to the environment? Was there an injury? Was there something that was harmful to this dog? Perhaps abuse, if you know that. I think sometimes we create a story when we don't know the whole truth, but a lot of times we do know the story, or we can certainly make some wise assessments about that dog's behavior and some speculation about it, and make some judgments as to what they may be showing us, what they may be demonstrating. So we have to figure that out. We have to start to try and understand what is it. And that sometimes, so if I go back to how I started this conversation, we can't just apply an oil and think that it's going to solve everything. We have to start the application of some training protocols and some exercises that will move them through the experience. The idea with oils in this scenario is that it helps take the edge off. It helps create that grounding or that balance or that trust in you as you start to move them through these little tough love exercises. You got to move slow and steady with your own level of confidence, but you do have to keep increasing the pressure little by little. That doesn't mean all the time the pressure is on, because sometimes you got to go back and let them have some easy wins, some super easy wins, so that they're learning to trust their themselves. They're learning to trust you. They're building their confidence by having some easy wins. And then you add a little more pressure. You might go somewhere more challenging, or you might have somebody come over, or you might, instead of giving them a bowl of food and leaving the room, the next step may be that if they're going to eat, for a healthy dog, it is they must approach you to do so. They must get it from your hand. And those are all things that we layer into the training protocols to help them work through these things. Confidence building exercises could even be like urban agility, and that's going out to the park and starting to use little retaining walls as the catwalk, so to speak. And just the notion of stepping up onto something that is raised off the ground might be a challenge for your dog. And so we start to work through those things and teach them that we get excited, we're proud of them, we have enthusiasm, and that these challenges we can be trustworthy in them, and we can celebrate with them. So When I start looking at the deeper issues, is it trauma? Is it injury? Was it abuse? Was it danger? Right? There are other oils that I will go to that have some very significant and specific purposes. Hi, Alicia. I'll come back to your question in a second. But when I think about, so Young Living, their blends have names that indicate what their purpose is. So valor, if you think of someone who carries themselves with valor, then that is a confident, almost warrior-like type person, in my opinion. Joy is another blend that I would bring into dogs who are experiencing these issues where they may be shut down and just seem to have no ability to have fun or to release whatever they bring with them by way of baggage. Joy, release, highest potential, believe. Those are all blends that are part of the Young Living product line, and I would be looking to figure out, again, based on more criteria from the specific case you're trying to solve, which of those oils I might bring into the equation. So that's a whole bunch of them that you can take into consideration for dogs that are nervous and fearful. I will also add to this on my dog training blog, the K9coachblog.com, thek9coachblog.com. There are a couple of articles out there that talk about not coddling the fearful dog and how to reward effort towards bravery. And those things I think will be beneficial to you to use in your effort to help dogs sort of build their confidence and build their way forward. So again, my guidance to you is this is twofold. The oils help with taking the edge off of anxiety. They help with opening the brain to being more trusting and accepting of openness and learning and willingness in many ways, but it is not your sole solution here. And then you have to start to look and say, what's causing this? Do we know? Again, is it trauma? Is it abuse? Is it injury? Is it fear of some certain something or some type of something? And if those things can be identified, then we can get a little more prescriptive about the oils. So Lisa, you've been wanting to try oils with my very anxious Jack Russell. What scents would you recommend? And I didn't recommend my two favorite ones in this story. Peace and Calming is a big time relief of stress-related issues, anxiety-based issues. Peace and Calming is one of my absolute favorites. There are a lot of people who don't love Peace and Calming for themselves, and they prefer Stress Away. Stress Away is one that actually comes in the starter kit. So if you were looking at joining Young Living, lavender, frankincense, and Stress Away are all in the starter kit and would be an excellent starting point to any level of sort of anxiousness and stress that us or our dogs might be experiencing. And then certainly looking at the other oils that were referenced here could be a consideration. Elisa, do you know... do you have any details on where this anxiety starts to show up? Is it sort of all the time, or is it circumstantial? If you're still there, I'm going to hold out a second and wait for your response. We might have lost her. So, all the time. So I would look then at starting with something like lavender if you have it. That is sort of the starting point, the go-to for just about everything. Frankincense, if you have it, is an easy way to get started. But I would be looking at diffusing and perhaps adding to a topical treatment, meaning right down the spine, or maybe starting with dropping it on his collar or on his bedding. I would be looking at Peace and Calming, and I would be looking at Valor if I could acquire those oils. In their absence, I would be looking at the Lang Lang. It's a very beneficial oil that is known to help support confidence, and I would be looking maybe at the bergamot, for example, as an option. So you got a lot of choices in this list, and I'll document that. It probably won't be this weekend, but I'll write all this down and add it to my blog as well so people can reference it in the future. Because one thing I hate about these Facebook Lives is you hear all this stuff and then you're like, what did she say? And you've got to go back at some point in the future and figure out where in the video was that part discussed. So I'll make a list and get that on as well. But do you have any oils now? And if so, we can take a look at which ones you might have that you can at least use to get started with. Yep. So everybody has lavender. I hear all the time, well, I have lavender. So when you got nothing else, use lavender. But like I said, I think it's important to get a little more prescriptive about that. And so my recommendation would be that you look at frankincense, that you look at Valor. It is one of my absolute favorite oils to use with the dogs. It's not terribly inexpensive, but I have seen it give me the ability to help unlock some very complicated dogs. In its absence, Lang Lang, ever how you say that, I need to go look it up, and it is a good option as well. And then I think bergamot is another really good choice. I'll just recap the ones that we've talked about here. For blends, Valor, Joy, Highest Potential, and Believe would be great options if you have those or access to those or decide to add them to your collection. It becomes a little bit about reading, and I can share with you more details if you're interested, but it becomes a little bit about looking at those and saying, what speaks to me? What is it that sort of calls my name when I read that? And that can be a lot of times how I make the selection when choosing between multiple oils, because I'm still building my collection, and I'll build it little by little based on what I know I feel the need to address in my own spirituality, for example, or in what I'm trying to address in my dogs. And then for single oils, as we talk about this, it would be lavender, orange, frankincense, vetiver, bergamot, cedarwood, cypress, or melissa. Each of those having some nuances to their benefits that we talked about. So for those of you just joining, listen to the early part of this discussion. And again, you don't have to have them all. You don't have to have them all. If you do have more than one, Single oils can be blended together yourself in your diffuser, or in sort of dropping them directly on the dog if it is a topical based oil or one that you've applied with a carrier oil. Any singles can typically be paired together, and I shouldn't say paired because you might use more than two. You can blend them yourself and create your own blend. But then when I start looking at blends, I'm looking for oils that are targeted very prescriptively for things that I'm trying to address. Have I seen an oil affect a dog negatively, whereas my other dog is a little overconfident? So you're afraid if you start building confidence in one, the other one's going to get even more of a... No, I can't tell you that I have ever seen that happen. I have seen some of the hot oils, or the spicy oils as some people call them, be a little agitating to the skin, but never to their emotional state. So last year or so, I applied peppermint to the bottom of Poppy's feet, the feet being super sensitive on our animals, and one of their VitaFlex points. And she got really dancy-prancy around, and so I applied a carrier oil after the fact and helped calm that down. I should have applied it with a carrier oil first. That was long before I knew as much as I know these days. But I have never seen an oil create sort of an over cockiness of attitude or an overabundance of attitude in a way that we didn't want them to have. Never have I seen that. So even if you were concerned about that, it may be one that you said, okay, I'm going to apply topically to the dog that needs it the most. And yes, the other dog will get some inhalation of that, but you shouldn't see any overcompensation of their arrogance or attitude, that sort of thing. So that's a good question. That's a really good question. All right. Any other questions, whether it's about this or otherwise? And Alicia, give that big handsome lug some TLC from me. We're actually doing a pack walk tomorrow in Matthews. I'm not sure you still follow my Facebook page, but we will be at the Colonel Beatty Park tomorrow at 10 o'clock if you want to come out for a little pack walk with all of us. Any other questions? Hi, Nancy. And I saw Ro Alice out there too, so it's good to see you guys. One thing that I will ask, I will beg and plead just a little bit. Hit like, hit love, hit it a bunch of times on Facebook, hit share, tag somebody, invite them to join the page. The more you do those kinds of things, the more people that will see this. And I am really hoping to get lots more people interested in the oils and in their wellness for their dogs. Alicia, I don't know if you're in the group, the Well-Oiled, Well-Fed Canine. Would love to see you join over there, and anybody who's listening, you're welcome to join there. It is a place in which we talk about the dogs more specifically, and so it's a private Facebook group, and we do a lot more discussion there, not only about oils, but also about nutrition and safety for our animals. So thumbs up on the Facebook, lots of them, little hearts, shares, comments, tags, all very much appreciated. So I'm going to wrap up here, and if you guys have any questions you'd like to add now or later, please feel free. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. I hope to see you tomorrow too, Alicia. Take care. Bye, Nancy.